It's rare to find a piece of media that sticks with you long after you've finished it. These days, it seems that most media is forgotten as quickly as it's consumed, and with the vast amount that's coming out, there's little wonder why the majority is so forgettable. That's why I think that the pieces of media that really stick with you are deserving of understanding what caused them to be worth remembering. Was it the form of media itself that stuck? Books, film, broadcasting, social media. There's a lot of different choices when it comes to forms of media to consume, but above all, the one genre of media that stuck with me more than the rest is games. I largely believe that is due to games incorporating multiple aspects from media that have already been established before combining them into a finished package. For me, that freedom combined with a distinct visual style helps make games feel more alive than other forms of media. Sure, I get teary-eyed watching Good Will Hunting, and I feel exhilarated while reading The Name of the Wind, but when playing a game, the feelings I have become enhanced in a way. Everything feels more personal when you're playing a game. It's that exact feeling tied in with a narrative that truly captivates you that is key to a game being memorable. Omori happens to be one of those memorable games. Omori is something of an anomaly to me. I played it on a whim, expecting a somewhat predictable, narratively driven game that I'd soon forget once I was done with. I was completely wrong. The narrative of Omori is something that few pieces of media, let alone games, hold a candle to. It sinks its teeth into you as soon as you open it and constantly wants you to keep anticipating what happens next. It's also horribly manipulative. Just when you think you know what's going to happen in the plot, it throws you for a complete loop, constantly sidestepping your expectations in a way that adds to the overall flow of the story, while getting you even more engrossed in the plot. A good narrative, at least in video games, often is manipulative, and I find that makes them far more memorable. It might be obvious that if you can predict the story's narrative, then it will likely be bland, but a fair amount of games in recent memory are predictable. Above all, though, Omori is real. The topics it covers aren't always lighthearted, and when it wants to make a point, it usually makes it through tears. Omori is key at highlighting the main point of why some pieces of media are able to stick with you long after you've experienced them. A fairly simple point at that. When a piece of media sticks with you, it's often a result of a lasting impact from the media that changes some part of your life. Whether it changes your perspective or helps you accept and move on from griefs in your life. Regardless of what it does for you, so long as it sticks with you, it's likely affecting your life. Omori is just one game that has had an impact on my life. More recently, I stumbled across another game that left a lasting impression. Until Then. Until Then is very similar in concept to Omori. The story is introduced, you get settled into the plot, and start developing ideas of who the characters are. And when you're starting to get somewhat used to the premise, things change. Little cracks start appearing in the world's logic. Minor details that make no sense seem to happen more often. And once you finally catch on to what's happening, as those minor details start to become the premise of the story, it wipes the slate clean and starts you all over again. Quite literally. Until Then is a game you have to beat 3 times to uncover the full story. While I won't go in depth on how that changes the story as you progress, every playthrough threw my expectations for a loop while delivering something so unique it was hard not to be enthralled by it. Both Until Then and Omori are standouts in the gaming industry. They pave the way for others to follow and set a shining example of what a strong narrative does for a game. You may have noticed I didn't talk much about Omori or Until Then's gameplay. Well, that's because there's not much to talk about. Both games hold narrative first and gameplay second. They spend far more time fleshing out their world and characters than they do muddling over gameplay. Focus is the final piece of making a game memorable. Too many games recently focus on having gameplay and strong narrative, and while there are games that can pull this off, there's plenty that can't. Games that focus on either gameplay or narrative first usually have more of an impact than those that try to do both. And while I prefer games that choose narrative over gameplay, I have very dear memories of gameplay-oriented games. Overall, a lot goes into making a game memorable, and while some of it is subjective, a memorable game often follows some of the outlines I depicted. So, I'd like to know, what makes a game memorable for you?